The old library stood tall, a monolith of stone and secrets. Its silence was profound, broken only by the occasional creak of a floorboard or the rustle of turning pages. Elias, the old librarian, knew this presence well. He had been the sentinel of this place for decades, guarding its treasures and its secrets. He had felt the cold spots, heard the whispers, and seen the shadows dance in the dim light. As dusk settled, casting long, eerie fingers across the shelves, the library transformed. The familiar scent of old books took on a chilling quality, and the silence became a living presence, pregnant with unseen eyes and unheard whispers. The library at night was a symphony of silence and shadows. Each night, as he locked the heavy oak doors, he could feel the weight of unseen eyes upon him, watching his every move. He knew the stories, the whispers of the library's haunted past. There were tales of a heartbroken librarian who took his own life among the stacks, his anguished spirit forever bound to the books he loved. One particular night, the silence was broken by the distinct sound of a book falling from a shelf. It was a heavy thud, echoing through the vast emptiness of the library. Elias froze, his heart pounding in his chest. His eyes darted towards the source of the sound, but the shadows concealed any movement, leaving him with an unsettling feeling of dread. The library was more than just a repository of books. It was a repository of memories, emotions, and perhaps even souls. The air was thick with the lingering scent of old tales, of love and loss, of joy and sorrow, of lives lived and stories told. Elias often felt a strange pull towards certain sections of the library, drawn by an unseen force. He would find himself standing before a shelf, his fingers tracing the spines of books he had never read, yet felt inexplicably connected to. It was as if the spirits of the library were guiding him, whispering forgotten tales into his soul. They spoke of bygone eras, of forgotten authors, of stories lost to time. One evening as Elias made his rounds, he noticed a faint, sweet scent wafting through the air. He followed the scent, his curiosity piqued, until he reached a secluded alcove he had never noticed before. The alcove was small and dusty, lit by a single flickering lamp that cast long dancing shadows across the shelves. Elias ran his fingers along the spines of the books, their titles unfamiliar, their covers cold and damp beneath his touch. As he pulled out a particularly old, leather-bound volume, he heard a soft whisper, barely audible above the beating of his own heart. He froze, his breath catching in his throat, his eyes darting around the alcove, searching for the source of the whisper. Hesitantly, he opened the book, its pages brittle with age. As he began to read, the whispers returned, this time clearer, more insistent. The words on the page seemed to blur before his eyes, replaced by a jumble of whispers that swirled around him, pulling him deeper into the mystery of the haunted alcove. Over time, Elias grew accustomed to the library's spectral inhabitants. He learned to differentiate the whispers, to recognize the patterns of their appearances. He knew the children were most active during the full moon, their laughter echoing through the halls, their spectral games scattering books from the shelves. They were harmless, he decided, their presence more mischievous than malevolent. One evening, as Elias sat at his desk, he heard the distinct patter of tiny footsteps running through the library. They were coming from the children's section, their laughter echoing through the quiet halls. He couldn't help but smile, their innocent joy a stark contrast to the usual somber atmosphere. But the library held more than just playful spirits. There were darker presences too, shadows that lurked in the corners, their whispers filled with an icy dread that sent shivers down Elias's spine. These entities were less defined, their motives unknown, their appearances often heralded by a sudden drop in temperature and a feeling of being watched. They fed on the energy of the stories, on the echoes of fear and despair that lingered in the air. Their presence was a palpable darkness, a suffocating blanket of dread that threatened to consume the library's peace. On nights when these entities were active, the library seemed to hold its breath. The air grew heavy, the shadows deepened, and the silence became oppressive. Elias would often find himself drawn to these disturbances, a strange mix of fear and fascination compelling him forward. Despite the unsettling occurrences, Elias refused to abandon his post. The library had become more than just a job. It was his sanctuary, his connection to a world beyond the mundane. He felt a kinship with the spirits, a sense of responsibility to their unseen world. He continued his nightly rounds, his footsteps echoing in the silence, his presence a beacon of warmth against the encroaching darkness. He researched the library's history, poring over old journals and records, searching for clues to the identities of the spirits and the reasons for their lingering presence. With each discovery, Elias felt a profound sadness for the spirits, trapped in their spectral existence. One stormy night, as thunder rattled the library windows and lightning illuminated the dusty shelves, Elias stumbled upon a hidden chamber. Tucked away behind a moving bookcase, the chamber was small and dusty, filled with forgotten artifacts and strange arcane symbols etched into the floor. In the center of the room, he found a large, ornate mirror, its surface clouded with age. As he drew closer, he felt a cold shiver run down his spine, a sense of dread washing over him. He could feel a presence in the room, something ancient and powerful, watching him from the shadows. As lightning flashed, illuminating the room for a fleeting moment, Elias caught a glimpse of his reflection in the mirror. But it wasn't his face staring back at him, it was the face of a young woman, her eyes filled with a mixture of terror and sadness. Elias couldn't shake the image of the woman from his mind. Who was she, and what was her connection to the library? Determined to uncover the truth, he returned to the hidden chamber the following night, armed with a lantern and a growing sense of foreboding. As he stood before the mirror, he spoke aloud, his voice echoing in the stillness. He asked for the woman to reveal herself, to tell him her story, hoping to offer her solace, to help her find peace. Just when he was about to give up, he saw a flicker of movement in the mirror's reflection. The woman's face reappeared, her features clearer this time, her eyes filled with a profound sadness that seemed to reach out from the mirror's depths, pulling him into her sorrow. Her lips moved, forming words he couldn't hear. With a sudden jolt, Elias understood. The woman was trapped, her spirit bound to the library, her story yet to be told. He spent the next several weeks researching the library's archives, desperately searching for any mention of the woman in the mirror. Finally, in a forgotten corner of the library's basement, he stumbled upon a small leather-bound journal. Its pages were filled with elegant handwriting, the ink faded but still legible. As he read, the woman's story unfolded before him, a tale of love, loss, and betrayal, set against the backdrop of the old library. The woman was Amelia, a young librarian who had fallen in love with a charismatic stranger. Amelia's journal ended abruptly, leaving her fate uncertain. Elias felt a surge of sympathy for her, trapped in her spectral existence, her story unfinished, her soul yearning for release. He knew what he had to do. He had to help Amelia find peace. He spent the next few nights reading Amelia's journal aloud in the hidden chamber, his voice echoing in the stillness. As he finished the last page, the air in the chamber seemed to shift. Amelia's reflection reappeared, her features softer now, a look of peace settling upon her face. She smiled at Elias, a grateful, bittersweet smile, then slowly faded from view, her form dissolving into motes of light that swirled around the room before vanishing completely. Elias sat there for a long moment, the silence deafening, yet no longer oppressive. He felt a sense of closure, a feeling that he had helped Amelia find peace.